Have you ever sat in a meeting and watched one person effortlessly control the entire room without raising their voice, without pulling rank, without doing a single thing that looks like leadership? That quiet person at the end of the table says almost nothing. But when they do speak, everyone stops. The agenda shifts. The room recalibrates. You noticed it, and you couldn't explain it. You are about to feel incredibly seen, because what you were picking up on was real. And today, we're giving it a name. Most of us walk out of meetings running the same internal loop. What did I say? What should I have said? Why does that one person always seem like the most important person in the room, even when they're not the most senior? Here's what nobody tells you. Dominance in a meeting isn't about volume. It isn't about title. It's about three very specific, very measurable behavioral habits that most people are running completely unconsciously. And once you see them, you will see them everywhere. Today, we're breaking down the science, not to manipulate anyone, but because understanding workplace power dynamics in real time is one of the most underrated skills you can develop in your entire career. Let's go. The first habit is called the strategic pause. Here's how you'll recognize it. Someone asks a question in the meeting, and immediately, everyone starts moving, nodding, offering thoughts, filling the silence. The room rushes to answer, but one person just waits. They take a breath. They let the noise settle. And then, after a pause that feels almost uncomfortable, they speak. You've seen this. From that senior leader who never seems rattled. From that quiet colleague who somehow always lands with more weight than everyone else combined. Here's the science. Research in social psychology shows that controlling the timing of your speech signals status. When you rush to fill silence, your nervous system is broadcasting urgency, even anxiety. But when you pause deliberately, you signal something different. You signal that you are not under pressure, that you have enough authority to own the silence itself. Psychologists call this temporal dominance. It works because silence in a group creates tension. And the person who can sit comfortably inside that tension appears to be above it. Here's what nobody tells you. You don't have to be the loudest voice to be heard. You have to be the most unhurried one. The most dominant person in the room is almost always the one whose nervous system isn't rushing. The second habit is happening right on the table in front of you, and it's called the territory claim. Have you ever noticed how certain people in a meeting seem to take up more space? Not because they're physically larger. Their notebook is open. Their laptop is slightly off to the side. Their coffee, their pen, their materials are quietly spread across the table. Meanwhile, you're sitting perfectly upright, hands folded, taking up as little space as possible. This isn't random. It's a behavioral pattern rooted in what primatologists call spatial dominance. And yes, it transfers directly to human social environments. When you expand your physical territory, your materials, your posture, the space your body occupies, you are sending a signal. Your nervous system is broadcasting, I belong here. I am comfortable here. I am not a guest. And the people around you, even without consciously registering it, respond. Studies in nonverbal communication show that people in expanded postures are consistently perceived as more confident, more senior, and more in control, even when their role, their title, or their actual expertise says otherwise. Your body is speaking before your mouth does, and it is either saying I belong or I'm just visiting. You are not broken for having made yourself small. You were taught to, but now you know. The third habit is the one that almost no one talks about, and once you notice it, you will see it in every single meeting for the rest of your career. It's called the Reframe Echo. Here's how it works. Someone shares an idea, a genuinely good idea, and before they've even finished the sentence, someone else says, "Right, so what you're saying is," and then they repeat it, in slightly different words, with one small addition, one reframe. And somehow, in the collective memory of the room, that idea becomes associated with the person who echoed it. not the person who first said it. This is not accidental. Psychologists call it conversational reframing. The reframe echo works because our brains are wired to assign ownership of an idea to whoever delivers the clearest, most confident version of it. Not necessarily the first version. The person using this habit isn't stealing your idea. Their nervous system is running a pattern that earns them credit through articulation, through confidence, through the ability to make someone else's thought land with even more precision than the original. Here's what's powerful about understanding this. Once you see it, you can protect your own ideas by learning to state them completely the first time, by giving the room the clearest version immediately, before anyone can reframe it. Your ideas have always been worth saying. The missing ingredient was confidence in the delivery. So why does all of this matter? Because these three habits, the strategic pause, the territory claim, and the reframe echo, are not personality traits. They are not gifts. They are not things some people are just born with. They are learned behaviors. Patterns shaped by one thing, a regulated nervous system. Here's what the research tells us. Dominance in social settings isn't primarily about aggression or authority. It's about regulation. The person who controls a meeting is almost always the person whose stress response is the most controlled. They pause because they aren't flooded. They expand because they aren't contracting. They reframe because they aren't afraid to be heard. What you were watching in that meeting room, that quiet, effortless control, was a nervous system doing exactly what it was trained to do. You're not behind. You're just earlier in the learning curve. And the gap between where you are and where they are is not personality. It is not title. It is not some mysterious quality you weren't given. It is practice. Your awareness of this isn't a party trick. It is intelligence. The fact that you noticed that person in the room, the one who never raised their voice but somehow ran the entire show, means your brain was already doing the analytical work. You were already reading the room. You just didn't have the language for what you were seeing. Now you do. You are not someone who doesn't belong in that meeting. Your mind is just learning to speak the language the room already understands. Start with one, the strategic pause. Next meeting, before you respond, take one breath. Let one full beat of silence pass. Just one. That is where it starts. And it will feel small. It is not small. Which of these three habits hit you the hardest? Drop the number in the comments, 1, 2, or 3. I read every single one. And if this gave you language for something you've always felt but couldn't name, subscribe. There is a lot more where that came from.